meeting focused mainly on the budget. But you know that one of the key issues that MPs had to contend with was Finance Minister Kofi Adams. The minority MPs filed a censure motion against him. We now know that that censure motion has failed because he could not garner the constitutionally required 183 votes to pass. But there were other issues in this meeting of Parliament having to do with the budget, the minority opposition to VAT, e-levy, and other key issues. So I'm discussing that with NDC MP for Buem, Kofi Adams. He is very experienced in politics. We know from his time serving the former President Jerry John Rawlings, also a former national officer of the NDC. At the time, he was the national coordinator of the NDC's campaign. So he knows a lot about politics, and I'm going to ask him about some of the key issues in Parliament for this. Honorable, let's start first from the censure motion. You knew from the start, didn't you, that this was going to fail? So why were you insistent on going through a path which you knew was not going to materialize?
Well, let me say that we couldn't tell whether it will fail or not fail, because the Constitution is very clear that in removing somebody from office or putting somebody into office, when members of Parliament have to act, the vote is done through a secret ballot. We were very much aware that our colleagues in the majority have equally stated, and publicly so, that the minister has proven to be incompetent, and that even if he was competent, his competency level has actualized, and that in the situation that the country finds itself now, the president must see the back of his appointee, the finance minister. So we thought that we will have the MPP side of Parliament for once join us to give Ghanaians what they have been yearning for. Especially when we returned from recess for this particular meeting. On the 25th of October, Tuesday, more than 80 MPP members of Parliament organized a press conference and indicated that following engagement with their constituents, not they themselves, their constituents who voted them to come and represent them, they have asked them to see the back of the finance minister. That was 5 days after His Excellency the President had gone to Ashanti region and appeared on a radio station and announced that his ministers were doing so well and they were performing excellently. So if these MPs were saying this, and 80 of them, later the number kept increasing, it even became the position of the majority, we least expected that they will follow a party line and once again disappoint Ghanaians instead of doing what Ghanaians really wanted.
Did you ever believe that NPP MPs would join NDC MPs to remove one of their own, despite whatever issue they may have with him?
Well,
because that would have been giving the NDC, the opposition, their arch nemesis, the victory.
But they were already asking also for his removal.
Yeah, but that's why they say that you may be going to Buem, you could go by flight, you could go by land. So we may be seeking to go to the same destination, but the path upon which we may use is different.
Unfortunately for you, the flight you want to use to go there, there is no airport to the place, or the only park where your helicopter could land has also been flooded, because the president has flooded his ears that he will not hear anything again. So knowing that the president has flooded his ear and you want to see the minister out, why not join the motion? You see, the Constitution provides you a means. That is why we have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. And of course, per the constitutional development and democratic development, the media has become the fourth estate. Knowing very well that the legislature is supposed to be independent of the executive when it comes to some issues, it made provision for censuring a minister. So if truly their people they were representing, their constituents, asked them to do what they organized a press conference for, the censure was a way to tell the president that we want you to remove your minister. And they could easily have joined, because the minority is the one that would have said, oh, we don't want to do business with you. We want the bad person to continue to be there, to even worsen your situation, so it becomes an electoral advantage to us. Because that is what many persons or many parties sometimes do in our part of the world. That's what they do. They want the governing party to fail miserably, so it inures to their political advantage. But we were also looking at Ghana, that in this case, the young people are completing school and not getting jobs because of the actions and inactions of this very minister. Many people have had their businesses that they have nurtured over the years collapse because of the actions and inaction of this finance minister. So we thought that they were genuine and they would join us to see the back of this minister. Unfortunately, they chose a partisan position, and a partisan position that, to me, that ends up destroying them even as members of parliament.
How does it destroy them?
It destroys them because
they were working out, they were excited.
How have they won? They have won.
They've kept one of their own in office.
They've kept him to continue to misbehave and perform abysmally, and their constituents will continue to suffer. So how have they won? They have rather failed. You claim your constituents asked you that you should see the back of this minister. You organized a press conference. You went, the president called you. You went there. He repeated what you already knew. And then you accepted a repetition of things that you knew. Were the 80 plus MPs telling me that they didn't know there was this was a budget meeting, and that for every budget that will be prepared, the finance minister is a key component of the preparation of a budget when they organized the press conference on the 25th of October, that Tuesday? Are they telling me they didn't know? Are they telling me that they didn't know that the finance minister, who had earlier claimed that Ghana was a proud country and that they will not go to IMF today, they will not go to IMF tomorrow, insofar as MPP remain in power, and that they have gone to IMF, and that he was part of the team that is engaging with the IMF, and of course leading? Are they telling me that they didn't know? They knew. But they still asked for his removal. So if the president, based on these two issues, told them that, oh, he was leading IMF engagement, he was preparing a budget, so let him do that, it was like telling you what you already knew.
So they have also said that that some of the allegations you made in your censure motion were borders on criminality. So if you wanted that to happen, you could report him to the police, or you could go to court if you thought that the minister had withdrawn money from the consolidated fund unconstitutionally. So that was part of the reason. Don't you agree that at least on the score of the issues you raised, you also want the minister out, but your issues are different?
Will reporting a minister who had committed crime to the police CID lead to his removal from office? No.
If he is arrested and he is prosecuted and jailed,
but how long will that process take? They were asking for the president to fire the person immediately, and you were lucky a censure motion has been filed to remove him. You say we should go and report to the CID. Why not, based on that, join and we get him removed? You see, the fact that issues have been raised for a motion of censure against an appointee doesn't mean that once the motion passed, that minister is packaged and dropped in jail. It doesn't work that way, that you package the minister and drop him in jail because the motion has passed. No, the motion have only passed. The issues therein, if any attorney general wants to pick it up, if special prosecutor wants to pick it up, then they can pick it up. If they decide that Parliament has passed a motion of censure and it was successful, but still we will not look into the issues that have been raised, the grounds upon which the motion was passed, we will not look into it, we will not prosecute him, nobody can force them. So I don't get it when they say the issues that have been raised bordered on criminality. So because they border on criminality, they should not be raised.
They say the appropriate forum is not parliament, but
well, parliament must have a reason to pass a motion of what? Censure.
Because every other issue you may raise may be in the remit of another public.
Exactly. But so parliament must have a basis upon which the censure motion is raised. There should be grounds. It includes criminality. It includes other related matters that we feel the president, who has the appointing authority and disappointing authority, is not acting upon. And therefore, the body that is clothed with the necessary powers is also acting to get the president to follow suit. So the fact that it bordered on issues of criminality doesn't mean that it should not be raised, and that only raised issues that don't border on criminality. No.
So now that the censure motion has failed, what is the game plan? Because now the minister now comes to parliament, he's free. He doesn't have anything around his neck. I've heard some of the leaders already speaking and saying that, well, we're going to make it a difficult time for the minister to work. But what are you going to do?
He has the issues around his neck. He has the issues hanging on him. That he's the first minister on whose head a censure motion has been moved and voted on in this parliament.
But failed.
Well, whether it failed or not, it did not meet the constitutional threshold.
So there were 136 votes against him.
136 voted for his removal. None voted against. The remaining walked out. But the number that stayed on to vote did not reach the 183, which is the constitutionally guaranteed number. It was 100%. We had 100% people, MPs present, voting that he be removed. The only problem was that we did not meet the constitutional threshold. It means that the issues raised are still hanging around his neck. It means the issues were accepted by Parliament of Ghana. That all those grounds were valid grounds, but just upon casting the vote, we did not meet it. So he is working with those issues on his head.
What is going to happen now? So
what is going to happen now is that everywhere you have your finance minister go, the world will be seeing him in the eyes that Parliament of Ghana saw him. That he is incompetent, he is failed, he is committed many other crimes as raised in the motion that was presented in this house and voted on. The only thing was that we did not meet the constitutional threshold.
I wanted to ask if on the back of all this, you'd say that the president should then dismiss him because this is bad image for him and the economy. But the president has made it clear that he thinks the minister has been excellent. He's not going to fire him. And so clearly, the minister is going to continue in his role unless now the ball is in the court of the NPP MPs if they're able to push through their demand to get him sacked after the budget presentation and after the IMF. But talking about the budget, your side was part of the people who approved the budget statement and economic policy. I know there are those outside who say that the minority should not have joined the majority in doing so. I was on the floor. You said no. The speaker said he had more of the eyes. So because of that, the budget has been passed. Do you sense that there's a certain level of responsibility on you and the minority if you hear the criticism on social media, in mainstream media, of people who expect the minority to do more, even though your numbers are not up to the site to do more?
Well, it is right that people out there will expect minority to do more because they know they are now the mirror of society. Minority now mirrors Ghana. And so even if you are few, they expect you to have a voice that will represent their concern. Except that you can only have a voice, but you may not have the vote. But in Parliament, votes determine most of the things.
They say the minority will have their say.
Their say, the majority will have their way. So you would have your voice, as we have always done. But when it gets to the votes, because we are minority, you would not have your way. So they are right in expecting us to push even more, and we are going to do so. We are going to continue to do so, and we will continue to bet and rely on a few good ones on the majority side to sometimes join us or possibly even abstain, because we may get to some point. For example, if you pick the budget, We have only done the policy and principles. That's what we have approved. So we are now going to go into the estimates, and then we'll move further to even look at the revenue generation bills, measures that they have introduced. It will come as a bill for either amendment or for new laws to be passed in order for them to be able to raise those revenues. We will be voting on each of the issues. We will vote on the 2.5% VAT increment. We will vote on the e-levy, the no threshold policy that they are bringing. We're going to be voting on it. And I believe that on that day, we will marshal all our numbers. And if we have some good ones who choose to join us on that day, that one is not about 183 anymore. It is just a majority. So if there are some who believe that their businesses, their constituents, whether in Ashanti region or in Eastern region, are also suffering, and they will join us not to accept this government insensitive acts of increasing VAT at the time people are suffering. A tax policy they themselves, as far back as 1995, demonstrated against that is retrogressive, is not a way to go when people are in pain. If they will join us, we will be making sure that the 2.5% doesn't pass. The no threshold for e-levy doesn't pass, and so there are issues we will be looking into in the budget.
Are you just not seeking to cripple government? You look at the budget that government brought. Interest and amortization alone is eating up everything. Then they have to pay salaries. Government needs a little bit more revenue, like they said, to build roads, to build schools, to build hospitals. If you're going to fight them at every step of the way in raising this revenue, then you're not being patriotic. You are simply asking for the government to collapse. How will the government operate without this revenue?
My brother, in 2021,
you fought e-levy. They said that the reason why you fought the e-levy is not performing is because of the fact
e-levy came in 2022 for 2022 budget year. In 2021, when our party's flag bearer had taken the elections 2020 to court, when what had happened against our people in SAL, we still made sure the appointees of the president passed through, despite concerns being raised by even some of our party members outside of parliament and some Ghanaians, because we thought government must function. That budget of 2021 was not even presented by this finance minister. It was presented by the majority leader and minister for parliamentary affairs. We approved it. So if today you see us kick against some policies, then you must know we are being genuine. Even at the time we were in court against them, we supported all those actions. Ask yourself what they did in 2013 when they went to court. They boycotted the inauguration, they boycotted a number of activities, claiming that they were in court and they didn't accept the results, so they were not going to participate in doing anything. But we didn't do that. So if we are raising the issues today, it is because it has a negative effect on Ghanaians and the economy.
So, I mean, speaking about all this, I mean, action that the minority are taking, there is still that public opinion that says that the minority seem to be in bed with government, and that some of the actions you take, the position you take, are just for the cameras. They say they see the minority leader, they see other leaders, they cozy up to the majority leader, they cozy up to the finance minister, they are all smiles. There's that opinion out there that your side just put up the fight for the cameras, but when it comes to the real action time to be taken, you say that, oh, our numbers are not enough, then you pass the things.
You see,
they say that your leadership in particular are not to be trusted.
You see, our MPs in Ghana are not coming from mass. We are Ghanaians. So we mimic who a Ghanaian is. So we can't be Ghanaian MPs and behave as if we are non-Ghanaians. How do we live in our society? How do I relate with my fellow MPP person in my community? how do I relate with someone who doesn't even agree with me in terms of religion? We relate so well. So don't look at our relationship because maybe we relate well, it means that we are in bed with another person. The fact that you are a Christian, he is a traditionalist, and you relate well doesn't mean that you've accepted his way of worship as the right way. You are only respecting him as a human being, as a Ghanaian. So the MPs are not coming from another world. They are Ghanaians. So we will relate. Some are even brothers. How do you expect, for example, John Jinapor and Abu Jinapor to relate that because one is MPP minister and MP and the other one is NDC MP, so they should be fighting? No. There are many others who relate at different levels. So we will continue to have that relationship. But when it comes to we will speak to the issues as much as we can. But we only have the minority votes because that is what Ghanaians gave us. Whether genuinely, whether they gave us more than that, and then the majority side stole it or not, it's not the issue. That is what we have in Parliament. That's why we are called minority. So we can only speak to it. We need the outside Parliament for them to also join, as many have become aware now, and they are doing. In the past, they thought that no, it was only us who have the responsibility. Now, many are beginning to see that no, if we continue to keep quiet, it will affect all of us. Like somebody said, they went for men's gold. Customers were the one who started suffering. Then they went to banks and other microfinance companies. Nobody said anything. They thought that those were the unwise people who were looking for extra profit. Today, those who invested in government bonds are also receiving the haircuts and the head cuts. So people kept quiet. At that time, they thought that it was, they were too greedy. Why do you think of such huge profit? Men's Gold is telling you this. Oh, all these microfinance companies say they will do this. They didn't see the other side. Today, people who invested their pension funds and the rest are all giving all forms of haircuts. So we will continue to speak. We will continue to act. It doesn't mean that we should be throwing blows all the time. Sometimes when it gets to a certain level, yes, you may find such situation, but we are Ghanaians. And so don't expect your parliament to behave differently. We celebrate when we see the chief imam in a Catholic church. Are we not? We talk about it. But he is the chief imam, a Muslim. He found himself in a church. We were happy. So why would they expect that maybe the NDC side of the house and MPP side of the house all the time we must be fighting? So if you find the minority leader and the majority leader in some kind of discussions, it means that we have been bought and that we are all no. We should stop that kind of language.
Okay. So we are still in conversation with the Honourable Member of Parliament for the Buim constituency, Honourable Kofi Adams. He's been telling us about the budget and why they have been so much opposed to some of the elements in the budget. They are saying that, listen, last year we opposed e-levy that much. This year, still, it's going to happen to the VAT rate increase that government is seeking to have. So let me take him outside of Parliament a bit. In the next few days, the NDC is going to the national election. They are going to elect new executives. He's been there before. He is one-time national organizer. He also used to be national deputy youth organizer. So he's been there. He knows how some of these things are happening. But there's one particular race, key race, that people have been looking at very much. The national chairmanship role, Esiedun Ketia, Johnson Esiedun Ketia, General Secretary, and also incumbent national chairman Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo. When he served as national organizer, Ofosu-Ampofo was not chairman. It used to be Mr. Potofi. But now Ofosu-Ampofo is chairman. Honorable Kofi Adams, do you think that this race is healthy for your party? They had also have said that couldn't the party have reached a compromise? And Ofosu-Ampofo himself have said several times that the Council of Elders, former President Mahama, tried to get Esiedun Ketia to back down. He did not understand. Do you think this contest will affect the party heading into 2024? Well,
our party accepts consensus building from 1992, 94, 96, 98, 2000 congresses that we have attended, we have come out with our leaders through some level of consensus building. The first time we ever voted was in 2002 at the trade fair site when Dr. Obeda Samoa and Alhaji Mama Idrisu contested for the chairmanship slot of the party, and all other positions were also contested. Like that was where late Dr. Josa Aye was elected as the General Secretary, Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, National Organizer, Biden Baba Jamal went unopposed for Deputy General Secretary positions, and so on and so forth. Honorable Haruna elected Youth Organizer in Pram Pram against Bismarck Agbemenule, and Frances Esiam elected Women Organizer. So since then, all our national congresses, we have had a contest. 2005 was a hot contest between Dr. Obeda Samoa, the incumbent chairman, and the late Dr. Kwabena Ajayi. Then 2010 again, we saw another contest, but Dr. Kwabena Ajayi won. General Secretary Asiedu Nketia won again. 2014, another contest, and Dr. Potofi also defeated Dr. Kwabena Ajayi. Then 2018, no incumbent chairman contested, and the then vice chairman, who was also contesting as a substantive chairman, Dr. Ofosu-Ampofo, won as the chairman. This time round, like you are putting it out that there was attempt to maybe have not have a contest. But you see, in the party. You see, even if General Mosquito was not contesting, there are two other persons who are contesting. We are discussing this as if it is just two persons contesting. There are four people contesting.
You know very well that the General Secretary, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, and Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, they have become the center of attraction for this contest. And those that are saying that,
I'm saying that
it will probably be the break or lose for your party ahead of 2024.
Well, I, as a political practitioner, don't see it that way. It has started and it will end well. That's my belief. That
which one of them are you running for? When you were the campaign coordinator, Asiedu Nketia was the campaign chairman.
Unfortunately, I'm playing a significant role in this Congress. That does not allow me to express my choices. I'm a member of the Electoral Committee. Okay. We are only 7 of us who have been given the responsibility to conduct these elections under the chairmanship of Alex Segbefia. So we have Alex Segbefia, we have Ambassador Sampi Yale, we have Lawyer Bid Zedin, we have Honorable Na Momo, our MP for Krowo. We have Amate, Honorable Daniel Amate, the acting director of elections. We have Lawyer Baba Jamal and myself. 7 of us. So because of that, I cannot, even if I have a choice, unfortunately, Congress is not over, so I cannot pronounce upon my choice here. That would have indicated some possible bias. And so I want to stay away from stating who I like. But I think that the party will surely rally round after the Congress. You see, Ghanaians and our party members are so much desirous of an NDC return to the governance of this country that no single person can undermine that victory. I
take it that you are saying that John Mahama is going to be the one that will lead you.
Sure. As for that one, there's no doubt about it.
John Mahama.
It's always, look, Ghana, no. You see, when a car is stuck in a situation that it cannot get out, you don't trust that vehicle in that state into a mate hands. You trust it into the hands of an experienced driver.
That's John
Mahama. Ghana has never been lucky to have a leader who has been in and has come out and to go in again. I worked with President Rawlings when he has left office. Look, the kind of experiences that he shares with you post-office, if given the chance to go in again, that person will perform so much. The same thing with President Kufuor. As he sits there, he sees things that, if I were in again,
I wouldn't do
this, I would have done this. But the constitution blocks him from running again. Look, we are seeing President Nana Danko Akufo-Addo as failing as he is there. When he steps out, he will learn some lessons and would have seen that, if I knew, I wouldn't have appointed 126 ministers. If I knew, I could have reduced the size of my government instead of increasing the size to cost us so much. There are many things he will see. If I knew, I wouldn't have gone promising Agenda 111 and spreading things out and not even finishing anything. There are many things he will learn. President Mahama is coming in with a lot of experience of someone who has been in there, who has come out and is going in again. So this is not, I'm not saying Dufo is not good, but the situation we find ourselves, the country cannot now bring someone who will now be learning on the job. You must bring somebody who is ready to start running government from day one. So
we've been hearing from Honorable Kofi Adams. He is the former national organizer of the NPP.
NDC.
Of the NDC.
Don't make that mistake.
Well, let me say what the president said. So he's also the MP for Boem in the Oti region. The Attorney General is on record to have said that if any election should have been had now, they should have been his, because the people of SAR should ordinarily fall under his constituency. But that is how we wrap up this conversation. I'll give him the opportunity. The year is ending. For Mr. Kofi Adams and his party and his constituency and his constituents, what message does he have for them as the year ends? Honorable.
Well, it's been a very difficult time being under this government, but we can only continue to pray for God's strength to be able to withstand another 2 years of tortuous journey. It's going to be difficult. I know it's going to get worse, but I pray that the good Lord will give us the strength to withstand and sustain ourselves through this very difficult year with the government that have chosen never to listen. In my constituency especially, we are suffering much more deception. In this year's budget, they have put in there that Hohwe to Dodo Pepesu route placed under Sino-Hydro, which is of course false, that is 100% complete, when it is not. From Hohwe to Central Kofi is undone. And that section is even under Honorable Amewu, who is supposed to be a minister and part of government. I'm surprised that they reported table 79, that that road is 100% complete, when it's not complete. But even then, Hohwe to Jasikan was awarded by President Mahama under Koko route. So I don't know why they are stealing that route and placing it under Sino-Hydro. It's not a Sino-Hydro project. It's been done by Rolida. The Sino-Hydro is from Jasikan to Dodo Pepesu. The 32 kilometers from Hohwe to Jasikan is being done by Rolida and the Koko route. It's not complete, but they have recorded it in there. Another major route from Jasikan to Uraura, which was reported in the 2022 budget, that they were going to do it and is part of the very special important routes, now has vanished in the 2023 budget. In a period where you were asking to tax us 2.5% more to commit that to routes that you claim you have awarded and are on course, you have taken it out. So I know for my constituents, things are going to get worse for us. And so let's brace ourselves for Westerns and pray for God. I can only pray for God to give us the strength to go through this process. But I wish them well. We pray for God's guidance and God's protection for all to withstand this process. And for the people of SAL, we will continue to fight to make sure that their constituency is created by Electoral Commission as a standalone constituency. We will not allow SAL or Guam to be added with any other constituency, because it's a different case altogether. They have never voted for any MP. The district was created in 2020 November, and therefore the Electoral Commission must quicken their process of creating that constituency.
For SAL.
For SAL.
So that is how we end the conversation. My name is Kweku Asante. We are having a series of conversations with members of parliament, with MPs going on break for Christmas. They will be returning in January. But these conversations will go on, like you've heard him forcefully say, despite losing out on removing Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, they are not giving up. They are going to continue to serve the nation's interest and ensure that government does not always have their way in Parliament. Enjoy the rest of your day.